I see a lot of women go into real estate because of the flexibility when they are a parent. Like you are a business owner, you do get to have all this flexibility, but there's this tug between time and time management and their family and their obligations. Parenting and business are 100%. Not knowing whether your decisions are going to pay off. I'm a deep believer that in real estate, we should be niching more.
Welcome back to Nevada Realtors Today, your place for timely updates on the news and trends that matter to realtors in the Silver State. Now let's join your Nevada Realtors President, Brandon Roberts, and Nevada Realtors CEO, Tiffany Banks, for today's episode of Nevada Realtors Today.
The amazing Dana is the founder and CEO of Boss Mom, a business and movement that has been empowering moms to find their voice, purpose, and financial independence for over a decade. As a mother, author, speaker, podcaster, and connector, Dana believes that too many brilliant moms are struggling to figure out how to grow their business while balancing all that is required to be a good mom, partner, and woman. Thank you so much for joining us here today.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm excited.
We're so excited to have you. So you've built a thriving business with Boss Mom, empowering entrepreneurs to find their voice and achieve financial independence. What inspired you to create this movement? And how do you think real estate professionals can benefit from a similar approach?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I quit my job. And by quit my job, I mean, I was in a startup and the husband and wife were getting a divorce. So everybody he hired was getting laid off. So I was just proactive. I was proactive about the inevitability of what was going to happen. And a mentor at the time had said, you should be a consultant. Like you can make a lot of money consulting. So that's what I did. But at my going away leaving party on New Year's, we all went out for tequila shots and 6 weeks later, I was pregnant, right? Which I joke, like, if you can't be okay with where babies came from, you're never going to make it in real estate or any other kind of business. But what happened was I felt intensely guilty, right? Like, I'm a driven woman. Before I had kids, I had big dreams. I had things I wanted to do. I had a full life. And I yearned for my son to take naps so I could work on website or, calling potential clients. I had this big tug that I felt. And when my son was about 5 months old, we were in Columbus, Ohio. And I remember seeing a mother, a daughter, and a baby that were at a coffee shop while I was working, and my son was napping next to me. And I cried in tears, and I called my husband at the time and I was like, can we move back to California where my parents are? I want to be close to my parents. And it was like -11 in Columbus, Ohio. He's like, I will put the house up for sale today. This is not a hard sell. So he came out here. Yeah. And I ended up writing Boss Mom as a book about a year later when I was pregnant with my daughter. My kids are less than 2 years apart. So I had a 1.5-year-old and I was, pregnant with my daughter. And I decided to write Boss Mom because this guilt that I felt for wanting to do something more. I came out to California and there were all these other moms and women having businesses. And then when I started talking to them, they were also riddled with guilt about wanting to be more than just a parent and feeling this cultural tug of either you're all mom, and then once you become a mom, you don't get to do anything else, or that your kids steal your dreams from you, like both totally negative ways of thinking. And I thought, we can't have it this way. Like, there's too many brilliant brained women out there that could be inventing, doing amazing things. And so I ended up writing the Boss Mom book, and it just, the permission and the freedom to be honest about the guilt, honest about how we deal with that, honest about what we want and how to build it, it just caught fire and we fanned that flame. Now, 10 years later, I now have a deep understanding of as moms, how we feel in this identity crisis that us moms have. And there's a deeper conversation that we are having about that. But in the beginning, it was like, I just don't want to feel so bad about wanting to do big things and feeling like I can't be a good mom and can't have my dreams, and being like, we've got to find a space where we can have this conversation so moms can let go of it and do awesome things. And I see in real estate that happens all the time, because I see a lot of women go into real estate because of the flexibility when they are a parent. Like, you are a business owner, you do get to have all this flexibility. It's also really weird hours. Like, there's a whole bunch of, mental, emotional load that goes into being real estate. but there's this tug between time and time management and their family and their obligations. And do they want to be the kind of real estate agent that grows and has a team and all of these things versus kids that now have practices to go to? So as moms, we just constantly have multiple priorities, and figuring out how to manage that is, I think, something that we are just now starting to talk about, but it was kind of brushed under the rug for a long time, and women just did it and then got burnt out in. And now we're talking about it.
You're absolutely speaking my language, because what I struggle with a lot is the mom guilt of, do I have so many dreams, desires, aspirations, and do my kids feel loved and valued enough? And so, like this morning, I asked, can I show up to your classroom? I asked their teacher last night because I've been gone a lot. And so, can I just come there this morning, bring a treat, and have a special like presentation that I did with my daughter? And luckily my kids, and they're in the same classroom, have the best teacher. And she said, absolutely. And my daughter was so proud. Obviously my son's like, oh gosh, mom's here. What's she going to say? But my daughter was so proud to go in the classroom with me, but I have the guilt of, am I doing enough showing up as a mom? Because I want to just like every project I could take on that's more, I'm like, I'm in. I'm like the poster child of the I'm in mom. So what's your answer to like that kind of mom guilt?
Yeah. And I mean, since Brandon's here, like,
Brandon, take notes.
I got a lot to add to this. I'm just saying.
Dads have a lot of these feelings too. Moms just carry a bigger guilt. It's just, I've just noticed that, because we used to have a boss dad brand, and I was like, I can't do both. The boss mom, obviously I'm a mom. I know more about being a mom. This is the thing that we have recognized, is that guilt is generally born out of uncertainty, right? So there's the guilt that you did something wrong and you know about it, but that's not the guilt that we're talking about. We're talking about the guilt of not knowing whether you made a mistake or not. And parenting and business are 100% not knowing whether your decisions are going to pay off, whether you were supposed to discipline them more or be there for them, or missing that game or doing that thing for your business. And when you have a business and you have kids, now you've got double the uncertainty of your decision. So you constantly feel that guilt. So one is recognizing, if you are intentional about knowing what your priorities are, we call them your like deal breakers and your dream makers, right? Like deal breakers are, when my daughter was, an infant, I was like, and the business was doing well, I'm like, I won't go anywhere where I have to travel for more than 2 days. I will only do it a certain amount of time because I don't want to be away. And so I would make decisions based off of those deal breakers of things I wasn't willing to do. I'm not willing to work with somebody that, if my kid is sick or needs to be laying on my lap, that feels unprofessional to them. I'm just not going to work with those people. Those are deal breakers. Dream makers are something that's such a good opportunity that I'm willing to reassess my deal breakers, right? Because it's such a good opportunity. And when you start to acknowledge that and assess that, then you can make decisions. So if you go, I'm going to go, and I've been away, I've been doing all these things, but I'm going to go into my kids' school because I'm going to make that connection and I'm going to connect with them. Then you can consciously know that, they've done studies. It's not about the quantity of time. It's about the quality of time that you are spending with your kids. And I have a deep belief that I do not want my children growing up believing that the only thing that you get to care about when you become a parent is being a parent, which means all of your dreams die, all of the things you care about, all your ambitions die, and that's all that you get to be, because that's all they've seen me be. I want my kids to see me have big dreams. I want them to see me fail. I want them to see me in uncertainty. I want them to see me in grief. I want them to see me angry and frustrated and how I move through it. Because if my kids don't learn resiliency and dream building from me, who the heck are they going to learn it from? So your kids are seeing that. And as long as you're intentional about bringing that loop back in and bringing them back in, then they're okay with not seeing you all the time, because they know about the intention of what you're doing. And I think the more openness we are with our kids about what we're going through and what we're doing, and not hiding them from us like our parents did, I think the more your kids will see that a life is full, like a life is about give and take and decision making and resilience and falling down and getting back up again. And they see that through you. And I don't want to have them see that because that's what happens when you parent. I want them to see that by you living a full life, so that they think that living a full life is a non-negotiable for them.
I love that. Brandon, you had Tyson At a young age?
Yeah. So, I mean, I had him, I had him at 24, and 2 years in, I was divorced. So, and I was a single dad, basically. So, if it wasn't for my mom and sister, it would have been tough. But yeah, he went on a lot of appointments, showed a lot of homes, and so I get the idea of, if the client's not okay with it, it's a deal breaker. I just because sometimes you got to do what you got to do. But in real estate, it's fast paced, and time management's important. It's very critical, and I find that agents struggle with time management. And a lot of times it's keeping the appointments with your family or your kids and that kind of stuff. Can you share how you've successfully grown your business while managing the multiple roles and what a real estate professional can learn from your journey?
Yeah. Well, there's one thing I like to tell parents, and that is that I think the whole definition of time management is wrong. I think that this idea, a lot of people think of time management as managing time, which means I've decided on things. They're going to go into a calendar. These are the things I do. I have projects. And I joke that like they created Scrum as a way of project managing because so many people, I believe it was from the government, couldn't get projects done on time. So this idea that someone out there is actually managing their time perfectly is this whole mythical thing that we've put together. It's not a thing. What I try and tell parents is that good time management is the fluidity of being able to understand how you can maximize time as you get it so that you can drop things in to end the day productively, right? And feel productive about your time, knowing that time is infinitely unpredictable. The people around you, especially if you're a parent, is unpredictable. And so the fluidity of your time to me is better time management. So parents are amazing at that. So in the relative to the question that you asked, when we're talking about how do we manage that when we have things, somebody pops up and is like, I need to see a house tomorrow. This thing's going over here. Okay, but my kids also have this practice. I believe that bringing your kids in to that in terms of understanding what you're going through and what your schedule looks like is one of the most important things. Because if you say, hey, my job requires that I have things that pop up, right? They just pop up. Then how do we deal with that together as a team? Like what we do is we try to parent with our kids as opposed to recognizing that a secure attachment relationship in any kind of relationship is one where there is safety, and safety is about honesty and integrity and having difficult conversations. So sometimes I've told my kids, we shut down the huge Boss Mom Facebook group. We were launching this new app, the Boss Mom Plus app, so we can have a social networking app for moms so they don't have to try and go and be on social media and compete with 20-year-olds and then also like go in and somehow spend an hour watching synchronized dancing that they didn't mean to. That's bad time management. So I went and I told them I would cry, I would do these, and they would be like, oh my gosh, Mom, this seems so hard. Like, I'm sorry you're going through this. And I was like, are you kidding? Like, grief is a part of change, right? But here's the deal. I'm going to have to be working late some nights. I'm going to have to take calls at weird hours. I'm going to probably have to travel a little bit more as we're promoting this. Let's create a plan for what that looks like so that you can tell me when you feel like you need more me time. And I can tell you when there are things I'm not going to be able to be there for. Like my son has this Olympiad thing and I've got to be away. And so I said, well, how can we make you feel good about that? He's like, well, how about we play chess every night for the week before you leave? And then that way we get that time together. So you bring your kids into the negotiation of it. And when they're young, the answer is mimicking, right? So for instance, you bringing your son with you. When I was growing up, my dad had to be at work. He owned an auto body shop. I got a clipboard and I got to walk around the car and do estimates with him and paint tables. And while he was painting cars and run his office and run keys out and get everybody's lunch order. For my daughter, I got her a keyboard that could sit next to my computer. And I would say, hey, I got to write emails. So who do you want to write an email to that's really important? She'd be like, well, I'm going to write an email to my grandma, to my Mimi, and I'm going to tell her these things. I'm like, okay, well, you write your email and I write our email. We'll put a timer on and then we'll tell each other about what's in our email. So I could get work done while including her in that process. So no matter what the age is, your kids want to mimic you. It can be frustrating to try and get things done when you want them to leave you alone. But if you allow them to start mimicking you in ways when they're young, you can actually be really productive. And then when they're older, discuss the parameters of what you're dealing with. And you'd be amazed at how your kids will step up. I've got a ton going on right now. And I woke up this morning and because I've been telling the kids, like, I'm finishing the reiteration of the Boss Mom book. It's an insane amount of work and I'm not sleeping very well because it's all I'm thinking about. And then I woke up this morning and I came outside here and my daughter had made the lunch. My daughter's 9, so she's not like a teenager. She had made coffee, had made the lunches, like was all packed and ready, had my son who's older, but a little more lazy, totally ready.
Oh, these are my kids right there.
Yeah, and she's like, cause I know you've got a lot going on and I wanted to let you sleep in a little extra. And I was like, your kids will step up if you let them.
And so, but how do you balance looking and appearing as a professional when you have so many things going on? So, like, do you think that others would view you're not showing up in the way they want you to show up because you're not, as a real estate professional, for example, you're not just always available every second. You do your best, but sometimes you are answering a call on the way to soccer practice or at soccer practice. And so how do you prove you're not any less committed to your client by also being a busy working parent?
Well, the funny thing is that if we were more open about these things, 2 things, if we were more open about it, you'd realize that the people who are buying and selling their homes are also parents who are dealing with all the same things you're dealing with, right? So you're actually more human to them. The other thing is that I think it's a really important conversation. So I love that you brought it up, is the appearance of being professional. So this idea that if I have anything outside of my work, then I am not professional, when there isn't a single human being who has nothing outside of their work, right? Except for an extremely alone person who wishes they had things outside of work, right? Or who deeply regrets never making time outside of work. So almost everybody that's buying a house has got a family or is starting a family or wants a family or has a, outside family or has other obligations. And we call it calling the elephant in the room. So when we talked about those deal breakers and dream makers, I tell people just stop trying to pretend that you need to be the person that you don't even know they need you to be, because that's what you think it is, right? So if you're like, well, I need to be professional, and commitment to me means that I'm available to them at any given time but you have no idea whether that's what commitment means to them. So calling the elephant in the room is coming and saying, hey, I am so deeply committed to helping you find your home or sell your home. I absolutely cannot wait for you to get exactly what you want. I am a parent. I have kids I'm running around. I have all these things. There are going to be times where I might be fitting you in or I might need to call you back. That does not change my commitment to you. But I want to be upfront about that because those are very important priorities in my life. And 9 times out of 10, one, they're going to love your integrity for saying it up front. Right? Either they're going to be jerk faces about it. And you're like, I don't even want to sell you a home anyway. Here, let me hand you off to this other person who you can treat like crap, which you've all you have those people. And part of, I think you guys can tell me, but I would say moving up in your career would be having boundaries. Like, not every house, not every deal is the right deal for you. And if the only people you deal with are people who don't understand the boundaries that you set, then you're going to have no fun, even if you make a lot of money, and then you're going to be miserable. It's going to make all your relationships suffer. So the calling the elephant out in the room. And the one quick example I will make to like drive home, it's not in real estate, but I remember having a conversation with a girl, and she was like, she sold insurance. And she said, I've been told somebody once somewhere told me I'm a lot. And then I kind of sound like a used sales person because I'm really energetic and excited and bubbly. And she started crying, and she's like, and it makes me really scared to talk to people because I'm scared that's how they see me. So I was like, use the elephant in the room. I was like, this is what I want you to do. Test this out. The next time somebody comes in, go, hey, I am overly excited about what I do. Super bubbly. She's like, sometimes I've been told and come off like used car salesman because you're like, how could somebody possibly want to talk about what I'm talking about and like get so excited about it? But I am. So here's the deal. If I start getting too excited, just like tug on your ear and let me know, and then I'll know to like reel it back in. Right now, all of a sudden we have an inside joke, right? They're going to go, oh my God, I actually love your energy. Or, oh, this is great, right? Or the off chance of the 1% that they're like, then you should probably give me somebody else that's more boring because I can't handle your excitement, right? She came back and was like, oh my God. It diffused any situation. It took away all my fear. 99% of the time, they're like, I love your energy. Like, I am so excited because I was nervous about asking questions, and you've made this process so easy for me. And so that calling the elephant out of the room helps us see that what we think is professional, what we think is commitment, what we think is whatever it is usually our interpretation internally and very rarely what somebody else sees. When we put it out on the table, we can both agree on what the parameters of commitment and professionalism looks like. And often there's a lot more leeway than you think there is.
Mm-hmm. I remember when I moved into the CEO position, I had been legal counsel for 10 years and my kids are little. So they were at the time, 4 and 6 or 5 and 7. And when the executive team came to me, I said, I don't know if this is the right time. This is something I'd been working towards, but they were just so little. And they said, like, we'll support you, like, get the job done. But if you need, like, if you could have a space that you could bring the kids into. And so all of that, for like a self-starter like me, that gave me like the confidence in, okay, I can do it all. And, where I could have easily just let the opportunity pass me by and thought my kids are only this tiny, like this, we know how fast it goes, right? And so maybe now's not the time, but because they gave me the permission to do both, then all that, it just makes me work harder and smarter, right? And so, but I do have a space, and that's now the staff that I'm attracting is, like, no matter what your situation is, like if you have a dog that you need to bring in here, like obviously get your work done, but be in an environment where you can be a professional, get what you need to do done, show up where you need to show up. But then there's going to be the days that you're just getting through, your work here, and to feel like you can bring a sick kid or a dog, it just it empowers them like it empowered me to do a great job. And so thank you, Brandon. I know like you guys really gave me that permission and that confidence in my ability.
Was the best decision we ever made.
Well, you talk about something really important though, because you're talking about culture, and 10 years ago when everybody had ping pong tables and they do your dry cleaning, what they were really telling you was stay here. This is your new home. You don't ever get to go home, and you stay here for 12 hours a day. And then, this is the only life you have, right? What you're talking about is the new culture of integration, which is the recognition that we have messy, unpredictable lives. And because of that, they overlap. And so I tell people balance is a silly notion of like, put a little here, put a little here until it's balanced. That makes absolutely no sense. Conscious integration of everything in your life, where it's all one bucket. You don't get a bunch of buckets, it's one bucket. And you have to decide what's going where. The more you have career, managers, jobs, family, all those things that understand what's going on in your life and creates the ability for flexibility, not only are you able to show up better, but you hit the nail on the head. It motivates people because what people want is they want to be seen, they want to be heard, they want to be valued, and they want to be valuable. Those are the 4 innate human pieces of nature that we have to have. This is why online communities are so important. This is why what you guys are doing, so that people feel like one of the things you guys do as an association is you create protection. And part of why you guys telling people more vocally about the kind of fighting that you're doing for them on a more political arena, more, the things that they're able to do, that you are the mama bear in a sense that creates this safe space so that they know their career has a trajectory, they're being protected. Those things are really important to our human nature. And so when we feel like we're in a culture that understands the messiness and doesn't judge us or berate us or penalize us for our life being messy, we will step up, man. We will stay up till midnight. We will come in on a Saturday. We will do whatever it takes because your flexibility creates loyalty. And that's you can't buy that nowadays, because what we don't have with the youngsters I can say. Turning 44 this year, so I can call everybody youngsters now, I feel like. The youngsters these days, they will not stay if they don't feel like they can build loyalty. They will not stay. They have boundaries that I think a lot of us would be like, all right, there, Tiger, maybe back on a little bit of the boundaries. But ultimately, the idea is good. And when you have good culture, then you can demand more as long as you recognize there's times when you need to demand less because there's the ebb and flow of life. So I think you guys are doing awesome.
Well, and look at, like when you came to set up the podcast here, you came on a Saturday because that worked into our schedule, and we were here all day on a Saturday. And those are the things that, people don't see, all that behind the scenes of the work that we do. It's not just checking in, doing your job and then checking out. And I think Brandon is the ultimate testament of a parent who, when you talk about a child mimicking him, and now Brandon's son, Tyson, who's incredible. He's just an incredible leader. I think the world of him. He's on many of our committees. He's been chair of our committees. And how old's Tyson?
He's 28.
28. And he's just so mature beyond his years, such an amazing soul. But that's an example of somebody that took, mimicked for his son. And now he's in your world, in your space, Brandon. What does that mean to you to have him there?
Well, it's pretty amazing, but it was funny because when he was little, I told you I showed him a lot of houses, and I remember one time he was about 5.5, and I said, "Do you want to grow up to be a realtor?" And he said, "No." Like he hated showing houses. So I never asked him. And then when he was graduating college, he actually asked if he could come out to Vegas and do real estate. So it meant a lot because that was never something that I thought he was going to do. But when I listen to you, Dana, I love your perspective on things. I could listen to you all day on that. And Tiffany is probably the number one boss mom ever. The way she's been able to juggle things and stuff like that, I'm just in awe all the time. But real estate requires constant adaptation. And someone who has built a strong business foundation like yourself, what advice would you give a real estate agent who's trying to grow their own brand and reputation in a competitive market?
Oh, okay. Well, and I might have some clarifying questions for that, right? So are we talking building on social media, building their personal brand so that they're just known in the space because they're getting started? Because there's a million things I could talk about. So I want to make sure I'm being specific for you.
So both of them are important, but I let's go down the social media road because a lot of the stuff that's posted on social media, I think, is detrimental to their brand. Let's start there.
Okay. Yeah. And a lot of times that's because they're just confusing the market, right? So we often think, well, then I'm just going to share my life. I'm going to share my stuff. I'm going to either one, I'm going to share all these things, or I'm going to go over here and I'm just going to walk you through houses, right? They're missing a huge opportunity. So it used to be in marketing that it was a you situation, right? So you'd have like Story Brand, for instance, which I think is wildly out of date. We have our Nurture to Convert system, which in the next 5 years, we're going to just replace Story Brand. That's my bold statement for the day. But the Story Brand would be you. It's like, how do you look at your ideal person and you're going to do a whole thing about them and then you're going to talk about them, right? That's not the culture now in online marketing. And what people want is it's called an I and we situation, right? So they want to hear about you. But the problem with that is that they don't want to hear all about you, right? They want to hear about this part of you that is specific so they can know exactly what they're getting if they're not sure what they're going to get and you're messy and all over the place. So the sharing everything doesn't work. What we have to do is we have to create what we call a movement manifesto. And it doesn't matter what business you're in. It doesn't matter what you do. So we'll take real estate, for instance, right? A movement manifesto is a shared vision of the future, right? It is a shared vision of the future so that people know, oh, you want to go there. You want to live in that world. I would also like to live in that world. We should hang out. We know each other. What that means is I believe, I want to live in a world where, and this is what I know to be true, are 3 statements when we're brainstorming out a movement manifesto that turns into all the social content that you do, like it's interweaved within, right? And what it does is it allows your audience, whoever's coming to see you, to recognize what you care about, right? Because on a very rare occasion, are you going to end up being, I don't remember his name, but he's the real estate guy who his millennial, person had him say weird millennial phrases, and then it all went viral, and has nothing to do with what he cares about. It's just funny, and it went viral, and it blew things up for him. That's like a freaking once in a million thing. Like if you think you're going to replicate that, that's not the way to go, because it's probably going to fall flat. It's better to say, what is it that I believe in? So if you believe in heavy family values, if you believe in, the way the world should work, you believe that things should be more modern, you should believe that things should be more traditional. In a household, by the way, our house is a projection of our values, right? Where you go shopping is a projection of your values, right? If you're somebody who believes deeply in health, then you're going to be talking more about having a home gym and having things like that, so that when people start to see you, they start to recognize who you are and what you care about and what kind of world you want to live in, and they want to live in that world. Does not mean you have to share your religious or political beliefs. It means that there are actual values that you care about, and those are going to be the kind of people that then go, it's a non-negotiable. I want to buy or sell my house with you because you understand me as a human. Now, when you're online, that projects into where you decide to do videos, right? Because if family values are there, then you're going to go around and do videos talking about the parks that are near here, or how you can get to know your neighbors because you're all walking your dogs together, or how a gym is just around the corner because, or show you in the gym talking about what it is. So you start to mind map what it is your value system is and what you care about, like what that I believe I want to live in a world where statements are. And then when you look at what kind of content you would create, it's not just, well, how do I show a house and get them to buy something? You go, how do I get to show them who I am and what I care about? And then what are the things in the neighborhoods I would be selling in, or the things that I want to talk about that are important? For instance, if having a strong family unit is really important to your value system, then you might be a real estate agent, but you actually talk a lot about how couples resolve conflict, right? I know somebody who loves decluttering, and that's really important. So they specialize in upgrading to a bigger house, right? Because in the house you're in, it's causing conflict. It's causing all these things. You need to get a bigger house. Let me help you find that bigger house. Here's how you resolve conflict. Here's how you bring up these conversations. Now she's teaching her audience how to actually have the conversation, how to declutter, how to do things, how to pick a bigger house. When is it time to move up? And she's a very thriving business over on the East Coast in that area because she's picked her space, what her value system is. I mean, that's one of many things, but that's the one that came to mind.
Well, I love that you said all of that, because I think that so often we think about, should we be showing up, showing our personal lives, like as a realtor? I know many realtors that I talk to, they do wonder, like, what's the balance? Am I just showing the selling of homes, or when my buyer, finds their dream home, or all the steps? Or should I be sharing, about going to play soccer with my kids, or just getting a glimpse? But you're exactly right. People want to buy from people. People want to work from people. And that's what we've actually really tried to do as an organization this last year, is take the focus off the organization and on the human connection and the stories, like human stories of the consumer going through this home buying process, or moving to Nevada and trying to find that sense of community. So less about us as like Nevada Realtors organization, because nobody cares about a cold organization. They care about people. Right. Yeah. And so the more we can be out there sharing that, we found it's just, you get a lot more authentic relationships and people wanting to learn more. And so you're exactly right on all those fronts.
Yeah. And by the way, when I talked about the deal breakers and the dream makers, everybody in real estate anybody who's doing anything online, but in this instance, real estate, you should write down what are the deal breakers in terms of what you do want to share, because sharing and privacy can live in the same space, right? You may say, I'm never willing to show my kids online. Or you might go, yeah, my kids love it, and we've agreed, and this is great, right? You may say, you know what? I don't ever want somebody to see the inside of my house, right? Or I'm not willing to, walk around with a selfie stick, or some of those things. Like I have some of those things, like I'm sorry, but you are never going to find me in a grocery store or in some public place recording myself. I just don't work that way. If I'm going to the grocery store, I'm going to the grocery store. You are not going to come along with me. And so those are one of my deal breakers. Like, I don't want to bring my camera where I'm going, but there's a lot of other things I will do. So having your deal breaker, because you might go, hey, I actually really cater to families, and I cater to families that want 2-car garages or bigger, that want big backyards. That, like, for me, when I move somewhere, I believe that my kids' independence is really important. Means I want to live close enough to a school where they can bike or walk. That's non-negotiable, right? So if I'm going to buy from somebody, I want somebody who knows the neighborhood, who understands what's safe, where they can go, what that looks like. Those are the things I care about. And so if you were going to go to your son's soccer game, you don't have to show that you're the kids playing soccer. You can walk in and say, hey, it's really important to me that I'm close to, the sports that my kids are at, that they can, walk or ride their bikes to school, because I believe in, the independence of my kids and really helping them thrive. So if this is important to you, these are the things you're going to want in a house. You're going to want this proximity to neighborhood, these are the things that I specialize in. So I'm a deep believer that in real estate, we should be niching more. I think most real estate agents go, well, I'm just going to take the person that needs the house and I'm going to sell it to them. But they also hate the fact that they feel like a glorified, door opener for people in a lot of instances. So when you niche and when you go online and you decide to niche and really specialize in the kind of homes, you will find the people with those kinds of homes start selling their homes with you, right? And the brokers and the different people who actually specialize in those, they start to know you. So now my past client who was in real estate on the East Coast, people will call her and they'd be like, hey, I've got someone who's looking to upsize. Like, this is your specialty, like this is the kind of home. She's pregnant. They're having their 4th kid. Like, this is kind of what they need. We need to call you. Right. And those kinds of things that if we niched, you'd realize you actually get more business by picking your belief system and the kinds of things, sharing those things online, than you would by trying to be a catch-all. Because there's less respect in the catch-all, not because you're not a respectable, professional, amazing human being, but because people don't know what kind of person or what kind of specialty you have. And therefore, they're not going to go to you as a generalist. Like, that's the thing. Like, stop being a generalist, even in real estate. And I think you'd find social works a lot better for you.
Brandon, she would be awesome to come on your podcast and work with your agents. I think that actually walk them through an exercise in your free time. Walk them through an exercise because sometimes they might not even know what that is for them. Right? Like, I think sometimes we, as an individual, unless somebody else says, oh, you're really good at this. And then you're like, oh, you're right. I am. And I do like talking about that. So that would be actually a fun exercise to work with your agents, Brandon, on helping them figure out what it is.
I agree. And it's hard for agents. They want to be the be all person, help everyone.
Well, everybody does.
Yeah, but they come from, a lot of them come from a place of scarcity, so they want to make sure that they get everything they can. It's interesting that you say, if you kind of pick your niche or what you specialize in or what you enjoy, you'll actually get more business, probably more than you know what to do with.
Yeah, and here's the thing. We are not saying that you can't work with somebody who's not in that space, that just knows a friend or something, or because referrals are amazing in the real estate space. What ends up happening is that when you niche, you still get the ancillary. You still, like, think of a target, like a dartboard, right in the center of the bullseye. Like, you start to niche into the bullseye. You still get these people because they just like you. Like, hilariously, a lot of times when I do fractional CMO work, because I have a couple clients like that just kind of fall into my lap outside of Boss Mom, they're all men. Right? But they all have families, and they're like, I just like the way you work. Like, I like your energy. I like what you do. The nurturing because what I've built is I've cornered the market in nurturing, right? I've cornered the market in humanizing how we engage in market. That community is very important, right? That how we build culture is very important. And so when people see that, it doesn't matter if they're a mom. It doesn't matter if they fit perfectly into this niche that I have built. They like me because of who I am and what I believe in, the integrity I have in that. And then they hire me because of that. And so that's what's going to happen is it's not like, you don't have to have scarcity in the idea that you now have to reject people that don't fit with you, because you become magnetic to the right people. And that being magnetic, that certainty that you have about who your right person is, it's really attractive. Like, if you read a lot of dating books, it's really attractive to know what you want. We think being available all the time. I remember the first time when I was like, okay, I'm going to stop having any meetings on Monday because my Sunday ends up getting totally filled with stuff that I didn't get done the last week. And now my whole Sunday, I'm trying to get work done. It's not fun or relaxing because I have all these meetings on Monday. And I was like, oh my God, what if clients stop working with me? What do I do? What if people won't get on my podcast because they can't be on Monday? And I was like, I have to do it. My Sundays need to be mine again. So I did it. You know what happened? Nothing happened. Everybody just went to other days.
Yeah.
Nobody stopped working with me. Nothing terrible. And all of a sudden my Sundays were like, if I did work, I wanted to, but if I didn't have to. And now my Mondays are this. Now I have Mondays and Tuesdays. Mondays and Tuesdays are like dedicated time for Boss Mom. And if I have an interview or something, I get to choose that those things go in there. But for most part, they're full days. And then I put meetings on Wednesdays and Thursdays. And then Friday is my life happened. And we call it the 10% day because it's like the 10% of the things that never got done. And we go through and figure out what those are. And everybody still comes on the show and life still goes on. So I definitely think we think scarcity is that we have to reject people or they will be upset with us. And that's generally not what happens. Certainty, knowing who you are, what you want, good boundaries, that's where the magic is. That's where the people go, I don't know what it is about you, but I just want to work with you.
Well, I want to work with you. Sign me up. Brandon does too. We both do.
I know a guy that can schedule some stuff, so I'm going to get with them. And no, I seriously would love to talk to you more about what you could do with our organization. I think your message and what you're bringing is so important. And it can really change a lot of people's lives and the way they look at their business and their home life, for sure.
Yeah. And I think the big thing is just big thing for moms, for parents, especially for parents. Everybody's life is messy. Everybody's kids get sick at inopportune times, right? Like everybody gets behind, everybody gets overwhelmed, right? Like everybody is trying to be as smart and professional and perfect as possible. And we're all terrible at it half the time. We're all still brilliant and smart and amazing, and imperfection is actually really humanizing. And we're calling it the age of messy marketing. People want you to be human. There's a way to be professional and to still be human at the same time. When we realize that, and you know you're not broken, you're not the problem, right? Then you can start to recognize that you can live a life where you don't have to pretend and then end up pissing people off, your family, neglecting all of those things in this pretend mode of perfection. Nobody asked you to be perfect. Nobody expects you to be perfect. We're all just trying to be perfect with each other with that, like with the one level behind it where we're a hot mess. You know, it's like this part of my house is clean, you know, but I'm wearing pajama pants.
Yeah.
That does not change how smart I am. I promise. I tell people you cannot cry out your intelligence, like your kid not putting their shoes on and being really frustrated. You can hop on and come up with an amazing idea afterwards. I think we all recognize how human we are and we were more honest about it with each other. Then we could start recognizing that scarcity is just a mindset, right? Like the feeling like we need to be better or more or perfect, or we need to be there for everybody. We can't say no. Those are just mindset things. Everybody gives you grace when you give yourself grace.
Sure. Well, I was going to ask for some final words, but I think those final words are amazing. And Brandon, do you have anything else?
I would just say thank you so much for your time today. And Tiffany, we're going to have to get her on for like a part 2 and 3 and 4.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, I haven't even talked about the nurture convert system, all the marketing. If you were emailing, I have 5 more careers and lifetimes to live. So I've never run out of things to say.
Good, because we need you. We're in a phase right now of bringing on the best subject matter experts, like the best that we can do to make sure that our organization just continues to thrive, that we're able to serve the members, do what we can for the consumers. And so that's like the mode that we're in this year, is finding the best and bringing them onto our team. And so I think we both feel the same way. And how do our listeners find you?
Yes. Okay. So it's super simple. You go to bossmom.com. Very exciting. And what's awesome is it took us a whole year. No, it took us 10 years to buy the Boss Mom domain. We used to have boss-mom.com and they would not sell it to me, even though I have the trademark and 5 things. Actually, Matt Johnson, who produces both of your guys' podcasts, who's my best friend, he like helped me go through this whole process to finally get this domain. And at January 1st, it was like buying a house. By the way. It was like escrow and everything. I now own bossmom.com and all the trademarks and everything like that. So bossmom.com, even if you just Google Boss Mom, we're the first thing to come up, and we have a brand new site, and we have shifted over into being a media engine. We used to be a coaching style business. Now we're a media engine. It's more like a company where women can come in and write articles for us. We're doing virtual retreat that we're going to have in April. We've got the new Boss Mom book that's coming out. We have the Boss Mom Plus app. So there's a lot of ways for everybody to come in and get the support that they need and the community that they need. So, and then it gets you to all of our podcasts and all our social and YouTube and all that fun stuff.
Well, that's incredible. And I'm sure a lot of our listeners are going to go there when we hop off. I'm going straight there. And thank you so much for joining us today. You're incredible.
Oh, thanks for having me.